Where am I going to go? Okay. Welcome. Good sunrise. It's a beautiful day out there. Good day wherever you are. Welcome. We are going to give it a few moments to see who is on and who arrives in the chat room. Make sure that my cell phone volume is off. It is November 1st. November, the 9th month. The month of truth. Welcome, Chris. We're going to give it a few moments, see who arrives, and then from there, see what this session turns out to be, starting of our new installment of Wisdom Wednesday. So let's see. Just give it a moment or two. Welcome, Denise. Welcome. Just wanted to, I see we have 3 viewers. I see 2 of them are in the chat room. It's interesting because I gotta turn my cell phone over. My brother, who is a nurse anesthetist, he sent me a text message and said, "Sup, homie." Let me let him know. He must have a day off from work or just wants to harass me. Okay, so anyway. Okay, so we're going to just give it a couple of minutes to see who arrives into the chat room. And I wanted to, let me tell, he's asking me, what is my YouTube live about? Let me put the link in here because he's going to, I told him that I'm doing a YouTube live and he's going to sit up there and ask me, what's it about? So let me just send him the link and say, go check it out and stop harassing me. So hold on. And get this to him. Okay, so anywho. Okay, so take a little sip. And take a moment to welcome everyone for this session. Not really sure how this is going to play out. I wanted to start over with our mutual exploration into tarot. And we're going to sort of rest on the esoteric leadings of the amazing Paul Foster case. And of course, this is just a guide on the journey. Paul Foster encourages all of us to forge our own path, to find our own interpretation. That yes, there are some standard background foundation in the numerical values of the numbers, in the Hebrew letters, in the astrological arrangement, and all of that, but it is up to each and every one of us to approach tarot in our own way. And, you know, no 2 people are going to interpret the cards exactly the same. And he encourages us, you know, in Bota, which is builders of the Aditum, as well as other schools who who are built on some of his principles, encourage us to color our own tarot cards as a method of becoming intimate with the esoteric meanings of the cards. So I am by no means an expert on how you're going to see the cards and how they're going to relate to you, but I do believe that the 22 major arcana are, in a way, a book of ageless wisdom, and I thought it would be wonderful if we could explore them together. Okay, so welcome everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in the chimes. I see once I sent my brother the link, he stopped sending me text messages. So maybe he has joined us. That would be great. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and invite you to bring in a nice, deep, centering breath. To welcome us into this space as we enter our session, our first installment in part 1 of Wisdom Wednesday. So, hope you enjoyed the chimes. Okay. All right. My glasses on. So let's see. Today, when I introduce the Divine Feminine, we're going to take a little different journey today. We'll just focus on the key word from her card and see what that brings us. Okay, so I'm going to shuffle the deck. All right. Ooh, let's see. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Do I have my book anywhere? You know, that's the one thing. I looked down, I saw my cards. Okay, I don't have the book, but this is Oya. Oya. She is a West African Orisha. Some say goddess, West African goddess of like storms, all kinds of storms like hurricanes, tornadoes. She is all about change. Oya is about stirring up your life, stirring up your energies, because only when things are stirred up and tossed about are you able to make room for change. There is Oya. So Oya calls you the whirlwinds, the typhoons, the cyclones, the hurricanes, the tornadoes, those deep thunderstorms, lightning storms, electrifying. I remember as a young girl when I would be down in Atlanta, Decatur, Georgia, visiting my grandparents back in the 70s. And that's when there were tons and tons of pine trees everywhere. Nowadays in Georgia and Atlanta, not so much. A lot of them have been cut down, you know, to make room for progress. But back in the 70s, the early and mid and late 70s, there were tons and tons of pine trees, tall Georgia pines. And I remember there were lots of summer thunderstorms, and they would freak me out. I would hide under the table. Oya is here to ask you to ask you, demand of you, showing up to allow for change in your life. What storms do you see brewing? Are you running for shelter, or are you ready to face the storms of your life and see the beautiful change that those storms can bring you? Yes, storms can be devastating. They can rip things up, tear things right up from their roots. but then newness and life anew can grow out of those changes. So are you ready to make the changes in your life? And this is what Oya invites of you. So there we go, Oya. So yes, I have art songs here today, Alex Gray. Wanted to do a little reading from there. I know I've done reading from Polar Unity, but as I open this up, I think it would be great to check into some Polar Unity once again, because I know we, especially in this day and age, we constantly have, we're constantly put in the middle of such extremes. And sometimes we can find these extremes to be a little scary or frightful, but it is the extremes. It is sitting between the extremes, between the duality, between the polarity, where we're able to learn lessons if we're able to sit still, like the High Priestess on the tarot card. She sits between the black and white pillars. She sits between all things that are, opposites, such extreme opposites. But there are lessons to be learned there within those opposites. And I want to read a little bit of what Alex Gray, of how he changed his name to Gray, and then we'll read Polar Unity. The Polar Unity Spiral, that's the Polar Unity Spiral he created. The Polar Unity, I was about to say Holer, the Holy Unity. The Polar Unity Spiral symbolizes the experience I had the first time I took LSD. When I closed my eyes and I was in the dark, helical tunnel going toward the light visible just around the bend. The tunnel experience was the spiritual rebirth canal that led to the insight of Polar Unity. The Polar Unity Spiral expresses the transformation of extremes into each other. Polar Unity is the mind's capacity to embrace simultaneous contradiction without conflict. Polar Unity is the mental resolution of the conflict of opposites by transcendent insight into their basic interdependence. Polar Unity is the law of the dimension beyond and connecting all space-time. Polar Unity is the revelation of our spiritual connectedness with every other being and thing. Polar Unity is the oscillation of the infinite love energy of God. It's interesting. It's really interesting. Wonder what you think of that. Let me read that again. Polar Unity is the oscillation of the infinite love energy of God. I mean, really think about that, and really think about polar opposites and them swirling together, and the fact that all of that polarity is the oscillation of the infinite love energy of God. Polar Unity is at the core of all religious and mystical experiences. Experiencing the unity of self with God promotes healing and perfection of mind, body, and spirit. The true insight of Polar Unity leads to an ethics of love and active compassion to embrace opposing forces and embody a worldview of Polar Unity. I hereby change my name to Gray. And that was December 1976. I remember that year, bicentennial. I remember seeing bicentennial flags everywhere. And this was in Boston, Massachusetts. So that was an explanation of how Alex Gray changed his last name. I don't remember what his birth name was, but that's how he became Alex Gray. So here is the reading of Polar Unity. And this is the oscillating tunnel that he was in. Polar Unity. Spirit is nothing and everything. Spirit, God, or primordial awareness, free and liberated from all separateness, is the boundless, transcendent ground of nothingness. In the primordial void of nothingness, we abide as spirit, God's self, whole and one, boundless and beyond time, beyond birth, death, male, female, light, dark, beyond all separation and opposition. Infinite love is coextensive with the void, pregnant with pure possibility, birthing all creation to enact the dramatic experiment of time and the complex orders of multidimensionality inherent in manifestation. All beings and things, events and ideas manifest as the evolving expression of the absolute. The evolving manifest order of simultaneously arising phenomena is the creation of spirit, an awakening to our part in the whole, and the wholeness of our part is the path of spirit. Why does transcendental spirit manifest from boundless emptiness to the created immanent occurring? Spirit is an artist, a creator, and the manifest order is the ultimate work of art, an unfinished, ongoing masterpiece. The mind or consciousness divides the occurring cosmos into polarities. Let's read that once again. The mind or consciousness divides the occurring cosmos into polarities. The primary division of cosmos into self and other, or self and non-self, is necessary to mind, yet is the basis of the delusion of separateness, aloneness, alienation, and suffering. We mentally cut ourselves off from the continuum in which we arise. Love is the glue that binds together the continuum. All opposites secretly love each other. Polar unity. That was very interesting. And let me see, do I have, I want to show you the High Priestess card. Oh, I opened up, you heard me unzipper, and as soon as I open up, there was the High Priestess card. Yes. So this is the High Priestess card. And this is, you know, sitting betwixt the polar opposites. This is non-judgmental. This is just the acceptance of the apparent duality, the apparent polarity. And let's see, as Chris Monet mentions, just like the black and white pillars becoming gray in the Hierophant. And let me locate the Hierophant cards. And I'm using my jumbo deck. So there you go. There's the High Priestess sitting between the opposing, the apparent polarities, the dualities. And this is the Hierophant. And we're going to get to those cards. But today, I wanted to, and Seven Serpents says severity and mercy. Let's see. It's so interesting how that just happened. I open up and, I have my 22 major arcana sitting on top of the rest of the deck, because I don't really delve into the rest of the deck right now, the 22 major arcana. And when I opened up the first time and opened the cards, there was the High Priestess. And when I went back, because I wanted to get the Fool, and I opened up, and there was the Fool. So the Fool card, the Fool, is what we're going to explore today for the very first time. Again, meeting the Fool card, starting our series, Wisdom Wednesdays. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share my, wait a minute. I'm going to share my screen with you to the Fool card that I have up, because again, as Paul Foster Case encourages us to color our own deck as a way of becoming intimate with the deck. So let me share my application window with you. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share this. Please do let me know if you are seeing that. Okay, so that is my colorized version of the Fool card. I was very happy that I found my prism colored pencils. Okay, so I'm going to share with you a little bit of information from Paul Foster Case. Yes, Seven Serpents mentions that he notices that the, what do you call it? The Bota deck has the Yud He Vav He on the Fool's shirt. And actually, let's see, is it visible? If you get out your Rider-Waite deck and look at the Temperance card, the messenger being, the angelic being on the Temperance card, actually you can see the triangle, and just above the triangle at the collar, you can visibly see the Yud He Vav He. And as much as I love the Rider-Waite deck, and I do, and especially because of Pamela Coleman Smith, the artist, the Jamaican-American artist born in England, who created the deck under the direction of Arthur Waite. Arthur Waite, he revealed, some esoteric symbolism in the Rider-Waite Smith deck. However, he also did some little tricks in there to obscure some meanings as well. So, I love this deck and I will continue to use the deck. However, Paul Foster Case, he was all about bringing the knowledge to the masses. He wanted this knowledge to be seen and understood, and for those who have eyes to hear it, those who have, did I say eyes to hear it? Those who have ears to see it. So I would also encourage you to check out the Bota deck, because the things that Waite obscured, Paul Foster Case has made sure that those symbols are indeed more readily available and visible on the deck. It's still up to you to, acquaint yourself with the deck and to, get to know the deck. So on the Fool's card on the Bota deck, let's see, where did I have my card? You do see the Yud Hey Vav Hey a little more readily. And there is deep, mystical, Kabbalistic meaning for those 4 letters. And we're going to delve into that, but we're going to take this one at a time. So let's see. I want to go ahead and just show you a picture of Paul Foster Case so you can see who we're talking about. And then we'll go back to the full card and bring him in again. Okay, so welcome, Anna, and welcome everyone that is here. And I see we have someone new. That's Blinky McClapper. Welcome and thank you. Those are my paintings. I'm glad you enjoy them. And so let's see what application window. Okay, so this application window is not readily available. Okay, I guess you can only have, all right, hold on one moment. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Trying to see if I can bring up his image. It's not working for me. I'm not sure why. Let me just try this. See if this will work. Okay. So we're going to bring up a picture of Paul Foster Case, just so you can meet and greet a little bit. Okay. So this is Paul Foster Case, and how I became acquainted with Paul Foster Cases in the town in which I live. There is a local artist who lives just outside of town, a gentleman that I've been acquainted with for, I would say, at least 10 years. And I usually see Ted is his name. I usually see Ted. He's an amazing sculpture artist and found pieces and does very mystical, amazing works. And I want to contact him about getting one of his originals. But anyway, I usually only see him at the New Arts program, usually out back or inside, or I'll see him driving up the road. And one day, as I was walking up to the walking from the post office, he was walking towards the post office. And that never happens. I usually only see Ted driving his truck or at the New Arts Gallery. So I saw him. I was like, hey, Ted, it's good to see you. Don't usually see you walking, walking down the street. And I walk everywhere so much that people, when they actually see me driving my car, they're like, you have a car? I'm like, what do you mean? Yes, I have a car. Oh, I didn't know that. I always see you walking. So we live in a small town. What's the point of driving everywhere? So anyway, so I saw Ted and I was sort of gushing because I was really excited about my tarot studies and really delving in. And I said, yeah, I just sent off a tarot deck that I had, that someone had purchased from me, and I was mailing it. And I, really been getting into tarot lately. He's like, yeah, my father used to collect tarot decks. He had, he had tons of tarot decks. And then he said, my godfather wrote a book on tarot. You should check it out. I said, oh, what's the book name? And he said, The Tarot. I was like, oh, what's the name again? He said, The Tarot. And I was like, okay. And what's the name of the author? What's your godfather's name? He said, Paul Foster Case. And I was like, what? And he said it again. And I said, oh, okay, thanks, Ted. I'll check him out. And lo and behold, I had no idea. This is like, as they call it, 6 degrees of separation, So I check out the book and I'm just astounded. It's an amazing book full of lots of hermetic wisdom when it comes to the tarot deck, lots of great wisdom. So I got his book and then I found out other books that he had written. And I know this might be a little presumptuous to say, but I really sort of felt like it's like when the student is ready, the teacher will come. Because like I said, I've known Ted for many, many years. I've had many conversations with him at the new art programs, at all the different gallery event openings that we've had there. Just, I've known him for many years and had many conversations with him. And to spot him walking on the street that's never happened before. Because as I said, I usually, oh, there's Ted, waving, passing by in his truck, or see him out back. And so I kind of feel like it was meant to happen at the time that it happened. And sort of like this teacher, and yes, he's passed on, but that energy, the teacher energy, the information, and that I resonated with it, and really seeing the tarot as not just a tool for quote unquote fortune telling, or just, I have this issue, I want to have my cards read about this issue. What can you tell me? Still more in lines of, psychicness. But to be able to approach the cards and really learn about the cards as for spiritual transformation, the 22 major arcana, and to be able to get introduced to this giant who was very renowned for, bringing to the public all of this information. So yeah, that's my little claim to fame there. So that is Paul Foster Case. You can do your research on him and learn about him. He was a very cool, interesting man, an amazing adept, just an amazing person. So anyway, I'm going to stop sharing this screen and go back to the Fool's Tarot. And Seven Serpents says, Paul Foster Case is one of my newest favorite occultists. And occult simply means hidden knowledge. That's all it means. Okay, so I'm going to have to, okay, there we go. So I'm going to share this application window with you. Get back to the Fool's card. Okay, now, all right, so welcome everyone. Okay, so I'm going to read to you a little bit of what Paul Foster Case says about the tarot cards, his introduction, and I want to introduce you to the trestle board, pattern on the trestle board. So let's go. So I'm just going to read a little bit. The Object of Tarot Practice by Paul Foster Case. If you will stop for a moment and consider the chain of circumstances which led you're reading these words, you will trace one primary motive. That motive is your basic desire for inner enlightenment. Even though you approach this study with great skepticism, even though your motive seems to be simply curiosity as to how the claims made as to the effectiveness of tarot can be substantiated, your interest is primarily founded upon the basic spiritual urge to seek light. This light-seeking impulse is the first requisite for success in the use of tarot. Only when such desire is aroused will the student have the patience to continue the practice work. The very fact that you are reading this instruction is ample proof that you are ready for it, because nothing ever happens by accident. It is fundamental precept of occultism that when the student is ready, his instruction will be forthcoming. The aim of this instruction is to show you how to use the tarot keys for the purpose of evoking thought and thus bringing to the surface of your consciousness where you can see and understand them, the fundamental principles of occult science or hidden knowledge, which lie hidden in the hearts of all mankind. All these principles are based upon a single truth, and knowledge of that truth is innate in every human being, but not until it has been found and brought to the light of consciousness is it available for use. Hence, the portals of ancient temples bore the motto, know thyself. And as the Christ said, as Jesus said, seek first into the kingdom of God, which is within you. Okay. Skipping ahead a little bit, to each prospector, this exhaustless mine of ageless wisdom, preserving study will reveal knowledge that another seeker might never discover. Hence, no matter how high may be his surface sources of information, no interpreter may declare, this is the full and final explanation of the tarot. There is no final explanation. No student can exhaust the possibilities of this extraordinary symbolic alphabet any more than one person can exhaust the possibilities of any language. Okay. All right. So we have the pattern on the trestle board. And Paul Foster Case says, your first practical exercise will be to memorize the following statements, commit them to memory in the following manner. Read the entire passage from beginning to end instead of trying to learn it piecemeal. Then try to say it over to yourself. Now, this pattern of the trestle board, you can Google it and find it. It is readily available in PDF format. There is a website, I can't even think of her name. She has put all of this information up as well. But anyway, I'm going to read through. It's a beautiful meditation. And I'm going to read through that, share with you the zero key, and explore the full card a little bit. And that will be the end of our first session. Okay, pattern on the trestle board. This is the truth about the self. And let me bring that up for you so you can see that as I read it. Okay, let's bring that up. Hold on one moment, just trying to get it situated on the screen. All right, so let me close this down. Stop presenting. Eventually, I will become a little more adept to all of this. And Anna says, true, nothing happens by accident. And that also includes all of us coming together. I do believe that is true. Okay, so let me see. Okay, I'm going to bring this up. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. All right. Pattern on the trestle board. Okay, here we go. All right, did that share properly? Okay. So this is the pattern on the trestle board. The truth about the self. Okay, sorry about that. No, Gary asked, does your friend Ted do tarot readings? No, he's not into tarot himself. His father was Paul Foster Case's best friend. And apparently his father had used to collect tarot cards, and Paul Foster Case was his father's best friend. And Ted is an artist. Okay, so this is the truth about the self. 0. Which is the Fool's card, which symbolizes 0. All the power that ever was or will be is here now. 0. Number 1, I am a center, I am a center of expression for the primal will to good, which eternally creates and sustains the universe. Number 2, through me, its unfailing wisdom takes form in thought and word. 3, filled with understanding of its perfect law, I am guided moment by moment along the path of liberation. 4, from the exhaustless riches of its limitless substance, I draw all things needful, both spiritual and material. 5, I recognize the manifestation of the undeviating justice in all the circumstances of my life. 6, in all things great and small, I see the beauty of the divine expression. 7, living from that will, supported by its unfailing wisdom and understanding, mine is the victorious life. 8, I look forward with confidence to the perfect realization of the eternal splendor of the limitless light. 9, in thought and word and deed, I rest my life from day to day upon the sure foundation of eternal being. 10, the kingdom of spirit is embodied in my flesh. So there we go. That is the pattern on the trestle board. Give me one moment because it is freezing in my apartment and I need to turn the heat on. At night, when I sleep, I turn the heat all the way down to about 60. Because many may not realize it's actually unhealthy to sleep in a very warm room, a room that is artificially heated, because it dries out the atmosphere. So let's go back to this. All right, so I'm gonna stop. You can make a screenshot of that, or you can do a Google search to find the pattern on this trestle board. I'm gonna stop. Gonna stop the screen share. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the Fool card. All right. Okay. All right. So where was I? Okay. So we're back at the Fool card. And I'm gonna bring that up. So when we move past the pattern on the trestle board, we delve into the symbolism of numbers. And as you see, the Fool represents, or it has the numerical value of 0, and the Hebrew letter Aleph. Blinky says, I have a fan in the window and it's 50 outside. I do that at night. Now, when I'm walking around in the day, my little skinny self, I'm freezing. I need a little bit of warmth. But yes, at nighttime, I open the window. I like to sleep right. Even when it's winter time and it's freezing outside, I might have the window cracked just a little bit. And I'm bundled up all the way up under the covers. I do have socks on. Sometimes I sleep with a hat on my head. Okay, so the 0. So the meaning of the numerical numbers. So, you know, there's numerology in here and gematria, the Aleph, but we're not delving into the Hebrew today. I mean, at this moment. Okay, so the 0, and it just reminded me, get out my book, The Oracle of Kabbalah, which goes through the Hebrew letters. Okay, so 0 Zero represents no thing or nothing. It is absence of quantity, quality, or mass. It is freedom from every limitation, changelessness, the unknown, immeasurable, fathomless, infinite. Zero is eternal source. So this is what is represented through the Fool's card, okay? So I know a lot of the exoteric explanation of tarot. The Fool is, you know, you're foolish, you're willing to take chances, to take risk, you know, to go off into the horizon, you know, to take a chance. So that is the exoteric meaning of the Fool card. But esoterically, the occult meaning, which means hidden, you know, we're raised in our society to be afraid of that term occult. It simply means hidden knowledge. Doesn't mean demonic possession or devil worship or all of the other insane things that those of us in a quote-unquote Judeo-Christian environment, or mainly Christian environment, have been taught to understand it. So in the esoteric, the Fool's card, the Fool, the zero, it represents the cosmic egg. It represents super consciousness, limitless, no limitations. Okay, so the key word is no thing or nothing. All right, and I'm going to scroll on down to the Fool's card. So the principle of the Fool's card, the Roman numeral is 0. The number is 0. The Hebrew letter is Aleph. Aleph is the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet. And I'll give you a little bit of meaning of the letter Aleph, turning to that in my Oracle of Kabbalah. Okay, the numerical value for Aleph is 1. And yes, we do have it associated with the Fool, even though it's 0 and limitless, because also Aleph, the numerical value of Aleph is numberless. The meanings are chieftain, oneness, and multiplicity, ambiguity, ox, and elemental forces. And Aleph is all about focus of our energies. And let's see, Aleph, let me go back a little bit. The sound is silent. And it starts the first letter and the first word of the 10 Commandments, Anoki, which is I. And let's see what else. Aleph also starts is the first letter in like El, which is God, or All, or Adonai, or Eloha, or Elohim. And let's see, Aleph begins the Kabbalistic term for the source of life, which is Ein Sof, which is without end, without end. Aleph also means nothing. It begins with an Aleph and it means nothing. Ayin means nothing. So that is why esoterically Aleph has been associated with the key of 0, which is the Fool card. The Kabbalistic intelligence of Aleph, or the Fool card of 0, is fiery and scintillating. The consciousness, the aspect of consciousness is cultural power and super consciousness. Astrologically speaking, it's associated with Uranus. It also represents breath, air, ruach in the Hebrew, life breath. So when you have the Fool card, you know, it's also inviting you to take a nice deep breath. On the tree of life, it is connected with the Sephirot of Keter, which is crown, as well as Chokhmah, which is wisdom. and it is associated with, in alchemy, with the metal of uranium. Its color, it's pale yellow, and its note is E. And let's see a little bit more on the Fool card. Scrolling down, we're going down. Okay, the life power. The first thing to do before you read this lesson is to take out your tarot key number 0, which is the Fool, and place it before you. We have it here. And you begin to sort of meditate. You meditate on the olive, which we've already discussed. It represents Ein Sof, which is the absolute. It also represents nothingness, limitlessness, blah. Hard to get that word out, limitlessness. And hold on one second. Let me bring that back down. We're gonna, let's see, that is the wrong page. Sorry about that. I never claim to be an expert, so please forgive me when I make my little faux pas on these presentations. Okay. I want to bring up one more thing to show you. Okay, so the Fool represents your life power. It represents limitless light. So we can also connect that to Amida Buddha, which is the Buddha of infinite light and wisdom. It is the one thing as well as the no thing, the one force, the primal will. As you learn these names of life force, limitless light, one force, one thing, primal will, these designate the force that you use in every thought, feeling, and action, the force which you will utilize in your tarot practice. And this is also the force that you utilize on your spiritual path. So this is what, esoterically speaking, the 0, the olive, the Fool card represents. You know, as I said before, in the exoteric study, it represents, you know, being willing to take a chance, walking off blindly, walking off the cliff, you know, the folly and all of that. But the esoteric meaning of it is much deeper and profound. You know, it's the cosmic egg. It is that God power, that God energy that sustains us, that eternal. As you see the bright white sun behind the Fool, which is that ever burning energy that propels us to keep going. So I'm going to read a little bit more about the 0 key, which the 22 major arcanas are broken down into keys. They're called the 22 keys on the path. The first symbol of the life power is 0. Let's see. It is nothing, no thing, the life power. It is limitless. Therefore, it is nothing we can define, nothing we can measure, nothing we can fathom, nothing that will ever come to an end, nothing which ever had a beginning. 0 looks like an egg, and an egg is something which contains the potencies of growth and development. And you know, something interesting that I've noticed as I go back and read some of these authors from, say, the late 1800s, early 1900s, their use of the English language is far more regal and more deep than what we're used to in modern age. So they use words completely different sometimes in the way that we use them. And I think that's really cool, so that we don't lose. That's why it's so important to have books, to be able to be exposed. You know, watching YouTube videos is one thing, but to see the written word and to be able to touch that written word and to really bring it into ourselves and to be able to create and manifest from that written word, I think is a beautiful thing, and it connects us to our ancestors. So you hear my neighbor's dog next door barking. It's joining in, one of the girls. 0 looks like an egg, and an egg is something which contains the potencies of growth and development. As a living form is hatched from an egg, so is everything in the universe brought forth from the cosmic egg of the life power. The life power has within it all possibilities, all manifestation, every object, every force in the universe, and it is an adaptation of the one life power. Okay. So that is what we are introduced through the first step on this journey. The first step is 0, the Fool. And also the Fool represents air, one of the most important forms taken by this energy, the one life power. And the first one you should learn to use is air. You must learn to control actual atmospheric air. So let me scroll on to, oh, I just went past it. Hold on. Yes, the principles of the Fool, the human faculty is air, which is ruach in the Hebrew, or life breath. And that is the one that is represented by the triangle with the line straight through the middle. That represents the element of air. So you must learn to control actual atmospheric air, or in other words, learn to breathe properly. We do not recommend here that you indulge in any of the various breathing exercises recommended by many teachers of occult development. They have no place in your instruction at this time, since they only too often prove dangerous to students who do not fully realize what they are attempting. So he's encouraging you to be careful not to start going into different breathing modalities, and there are lots of them out there. You want to be careful when you go into that, because you can cause yourself to hyperventilate, cause yourself to pass out, etc. Okay, let's scroll it down. The important of breath. I like the use of important instead of importance. Let me go ahead. I'm going to bring this up for you. Let's see, what page is that? So that is page 29. I'm going to bring that over for you to check it out. So we are close to it. Oh, this is the tableau. Let's see, you're getting that. This is the tableau of the tarot. So this is all the 22 major arcana. And they all do closely follow the Rider-Waite-Smith version. However, the Bota version, which is builder of the Addendum, which was designed, this tarot deck, was reinterpreted by Paul Foster Case, because he wanted to make sure that the esoteric symbolism is really portrayed. Arthur Waite, he did as well, but he still sort of murkied the waters a bit. One of them you can see is, like, for instance, the Death card is different. And yeah, so this is the 22 major arcana, but we're not stopping there. We're going on down. There's the Fool's card. And here is, we were just checking out the schedule. So the Fool, Roman numeral 0, Hebrew letter Aleph. The value is the letter A. The meaning or significance is ox or bull. Kabbalistic intelligence is fiery or scintillating. Cultural power, superconsciousness. Astrology is Uranus. Human faculty, air. breath, life breath. So we're going to go on down. And also here's the astrological chart to go along, but we're not stopping there. So right about here. Okay. I think this is where we're starting to read. Was that it? Okay, let's go up a little bit. So we're going to look into why the ox is associated with the 0 as well as the olive. Because the life power is the force behind all manifestations and consequently behind all life growth. It is obviously cultural power. This is graphically portrayed by the attribution of the Hebrew letter Aleph to this key. Aleph means ox. And actually in the ancient Hebrew, the Paleo Hebrew, if you look it up, because the Hebrew letters that we use today come from the Assyrian script, but the Paleo Hebrew, I believe it comes from the Phoenician script. And it actually looks like a little line drawing of a slight triangle, I think with ears on it, and it actually looks like an ox head. So the original Aleph was a line drawing of an ox head. Oxen were the motive power in primitive agriculture. They were used to plow fields, to thresh grain, to carry burdens. Agriculture is the basic form of civilization, so the ox represents the power at work in all forms of human adaptation and modification of natural conditions. In this way, the ox symbolizes creative energy, the vital principle in all forms of living creatures. This vital principle comes to us in physical form as the energy of the sun. Consequently, we see that the life power is not an abstraction far removed from everyday life. We contact it every day in every form. Our senses reveal it to us physically as light and heat from the sun, and scientific research makes known to everyone that sun energy is the basis of our physical existence. I mean, you can test that yourself. How do you feel when the sun is hidden, you know, through the clouds and on gray, dark, cloudy days in the wintertime? I'm okay if it's like 2 days of no sun, maybe even 3. But once it gets about 4 or 5 days of no sun, that sad seasonal effectiveness disorder really starts to click in. So that is checking in. Okay. Let's see. Consequently, we see that the life power is not an abstraction far removed from everyday life. And it is known to everyone that the sun energy is the basis of our physical existence. Just as sunlight is a form of electromagnetic vibration measurable with physical instruments, so is every other part of the universe, physical or superphysical, composed of electromagnetic vibrations which quickly pass beyond the range of any man-made instrument. But there is an instrument not made by man which can utilize and adapt the higher vibrations. This radiant mental energy is a manner truly wonderful. This instrument is the human personality, and you are the possessor. Its function is to give free expression to the life power. So that is what we see when we're looking at the Fool. We see the beginning of making use of this full expression of life power, this creativity. We see within the Fool card the cosmic egg, the 0, the ground of being, as you see her feet gently touching the earth and riding off into the distance. And let's see. So we're going to move on down into the breath. The importance of breath is shown in the symbolism of the Fool. Aleph is the special sign of air in Hebrew esoteric philosophy, which is Kabbalah. The noun fool is derived from the Latin word follies, meaning a bag of wind. I found that really, really interesting when I first read it, that fool comes from follies, which means a bag of wind. Follis also means bellows, which is an instrument for the utilization of air. So anyone who has built a fire in a fireplace, you breathe on it, or you use the bellows to pump up and down to blow the air out. That has the root in follies or follis or fool. The yellow tint in the background. The yellow tint in the background is also symbolical of air. And to this, the fact that in every civilized language, wise men use the words which ordinarily mean air, wind, or breath to designate life or conscious energy. And you can readily fathom the significance attached to air by occultists and realize the importance of learning to use it properly. I know this is a little long. I appreciate you guys sticking this out. I mean, there is so much depth in the 22 major arcana, and where he talks about learning to use it properly. For those of you who know, I am a licensed massage therapist, and the name of my business, my holistic practice, years ago, I called it Shalom Reiki Healing Hands. And that's when I first started to use Reiki. And so my practice was Shalom Reiki, because I truly understood that Reiki brought not only peace, but a complete and a healing peace, which is what Shalom is. And back in 2000, I think 11 or 2012, I developed the acronym MEND for my business, Mend Soul. And what Mend Soul is an acronym, and it means meditation, utilizing these various forces to bring healing to the soul. Meditation, energy work, like Reiki, being out in nature, which you always hear me talk about, nature, being out in nature, and deep, for the D, deep diaphragmatic breathing, because breathing is truly, the life breath is so important. And one of the things I run into with clients and with just about everyone, as adults dealing with stress and not dealing with stress properly, we somewhere along the way, from probably around the age 10 or 11, started this mechanism of death, which is shallow breathing just enough into our upper chest to keep us from passing out, just enough to keep us conscious. And this lack of proper breathing. Seven Serpents says he would love to see some Reiki videos. Yes, I am working on that, Seven Serpents. I am constantly formulating in my mind things that I want to do. And I do sometimes move a little bit slow because I do run a business. I do have a little one still at home. So my energies are always going in a multitude of different places. So it just takes me a little bit of time. But anyway, breath is so important. And when I was studying this and learning the esoteric meanings, that the Hermetic groups such as Golden Dawn, Bota, all of them had this esoteric meaning behind the tarot cards when Arthur Waite was putting them together. And those meanings are much deeper than the surface of what your general psychic fortune telling, however you want to put it, the meanings that are out there. There are two meanings to tarot cards. Okay, you have the outer meaning and you have the inner meaning. And what I'm seeking to delve into here is the inner meaning of the tarot cards, of the 22 major arcana. Okay, so we're back to this. In every civilized language, wise men or women use the words which ordinarily mean air, wind, or breath to designate life or conscious energy. And you can readily fathom the significance attached to air by occultists and realize the importance of learning to use it properly, learning to breathe properly, learning to bring that life-giving force down into you, which is what Tai Chi does, which is what Qigong does. And when you really truly do more traditional Japanese Reiki rather than the Western Reiki, it's all about using the proper breathing as you're breathing and bringing the energy into your body. And it's not so much as you're bringing the energy into your body, you're actually building up the life force energy, your chi, your ki, your prana, bringing that up and building it stronger and stronger and stronger through proper breathing. The tarot title for the life power is highly ingenious. Yes, it is. Is he winning me over to the title of the Fool, which again is related to follies, which means a bag of wind? Yes, he is. It tells us that we need to know at the same time throwing the idly curious or the superficial completely off track, which is that superficial, which is, you know, the Fool is all about willing to take chances, willing to say yes and walk blindly into that, willing to be the fool. It's all about taking in that life force, being willing to remember the cosmic egg that you are, the full potential that you were born with. And I'm not going to make this video too much longer. We'll probably have to have a part 2 and a part 3 to really delve more into the Fool. But I invite you to download and print a copy of the Bota deck, or order a copy of the Bota deck, and you know, to really get into this. Okay, where were we? One key to the true significance of the title The Fool is the key. The wisdom of God is foolishness with men. Thus, it is that those men found in every generation who gain an unusual knowledge of the life power are usually called madmen or fools. And that includes women. When I use men here, you know, let's not get crazy. Remember, men is just, you know, men and women are called fools by their less enlightened brethren and sistren. He just uses brethren. I added the sistren in there. So this title hints at a state of consciousness which has even been termed pathological by some materialistic psychologists, simply because its results are unfamiliar to them and they are totally incapable of understanding it. You know, madmen and fools and those artists and those creatives were considered, you know, we look back and realize, wow, they were ahead of their times. They weren't crazy. They were just ahead of their times. So this title, let's see, this state of consciousness is termed by those who can comprehend its significance as super consciousness or cosmic consciousness. To attain such a state of consciousness is to comprehend the universe in its entirety and to gain, get this, and to gain complete self-realization. So I think this is a great place to end off, and I'm going to mark this down what page we ended off on. So when I pick this up again, we can continue on this journey and delving in to the Fool. Let me just write this down. Yes, I use a pencil. I love the sound of pencil meeting paper. So you just don't understand. Let me go ahead and stop sharing. So Chris Monet says, so glad you are reintroducing the tarot again. This has been an excellent experience. Thank you, Tamu. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my soul. And that's my SOLE. Because this, to be able to share, to truly and deeply share this enthusiasm, you know, I tried before in the past to explore the tarot. So I wasn't able to quite bring out all of the information that I wanted to, and felt that was so important because we've been, you know, I wouldn't say we've been misled. I would just say that when the student is ready, the teacher will come, and those who have eyes will hear, and those who have ears will see. And there is more to this world than we realize, and there's more to our souls than we realize. And it's taken me many years to realize that there's more to tarot. The 22 major arcana, I'm not talking about the other 54, 56, whatever cards. There is something deep and profound there that's been hidden in this psychic game. You know, there is that aspect, there is the outer aspect, and that's beautiful and wonderful too. But what's really profound and pulling to me is the inner aspect, because it is through this journey of the 22 that we're able to have those 22 keys to help build our adytum, which means inner sanctum. And I think it's a beautiful thing to explore when you're ready. And for those of you who have stuck through and have had the time, you are ready. And for those who come, you know, for the replay, you are ready as well. There's beautiful depth and wisdom here. And I think it's great that we can explore this together. And I'll just leave with the last sentence. The attainment of, you know, I said to attain such a state of consciousness is to comprehend the universe in its entirety and to gain complete self-realization. The attainment of superconsciousness may well be given as the ultimate object of your tarot study. And that is my hope, and that is my desire as we continue this study. So I thank you for being here. And before we end, you know, as I mentioned, it's beautiful to read many of the old works, the old readings from the 1800s, the 1900s, and maybe even beyond that, because it gives us a greater, a deeper use of the English language, of our language. And it's really rich. And with that, it reminds us, I like to take a moment to remember our ancestors, both physical and spiritual ancestors, those from whom we have learned, whose feet we sit at through the legacy of their words, their written words. So if we take a moment to remember our ancestors, all those who have transitioned before us. And I wish you peace, 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 and great bliss. Thank you. Thank you. We release this sacred circle